off. Okie dokie. And actually, let me just do this as a quick episode then. A little experiment, shall we? Just a little experiment. This will be fun. Hi friends, how are you doing? My name's Rocky Outcrop. I'm a technical analyst, I'm a professional trader, and I'm about to take a look at the VuManChu MarketCipher and the Cryptoface MarketCipher here. Of course, that is the free versus paid, the open source, if you like, versus private source MarketCipher analysis tool that you might have heard of, the indicator that's out there. Great, nice one. Does that sound like a bit of fun? I hope so. I have got a brand new chart here that I've just opened up. This is the Bitcoin USDT chart. There's no indicators or anything on here. It's like a brand new empty trading view. Let's see how this little experiment goes. If you like the sound of that, then drop a like button. What do we aim to find out during this? Well, we want to see what the charts look like, and we're going to do it by looking at the 1 hour time frame, and we're going to see if we're seeing similar signals across the paid and the free one, and what it says right now with regards to the price action. So a bit of fun and some education, and of course as well it helps you keep informed with the market and all that good stuff. Drop a like. Excellent. In fact, here's the intro clip. This is a perfect time to hit that like button if you're ever going to do it. I'd really appreciate it. Right, great, excellent. So let's dive on into it, shall we? First thing that we're going to have to do is add the indicators on here. So let me just search for VuManChu. Right, I've also got the sort of Rocky's VuManChu edited one here where I was messing around with it with the source. Instead, I'll just go and that's not public, that's my script. I'll just add on the one here. Where is it? VuManChu Cipher, which one is it? B plus divergences. That's the most popular one on there. That's not a surprise. Okie dokie. So when this loads up, excellent. So there's the free one. Let's add on the paid one. Okay, so it is invite only scripts here. MarketCipher B. Excellent. So now we have both of them on the charts, and you can see, of course, that there are some differences right away. It's clear to see that this line up here doesn't seem to correspond with this red and green line down below. That's slightly different. The wave, the big blue waves that you're seeing here, they seem to be lining up more or less the same, and we are also seeing that there is a similar looking green dot just here, looking back the way, green dot just here as well. Okie dokie, so fairly similar really out of the box. Biggest difference between these two, I would say to anybody who's actually interested in this, the differences between them, is that of course the legitimate paid for MarketCipher is going into not just the MarketCipher, you get the other tools that go along with it as well, and access to the guy's community and all of that sort of stuff. So there's a degree of support that goes along with it as well. So it's not a direct comparison here, you know, really in that sense, because of course there's no support with the open source version. But in terms of just simply looking at this and saying, is this green dot in the same place, etc.? Is this green dot in the same place? Well, we're seeing that they're in the same places, and in fact we're seeing that the red dots are in the same places as well, and we're seeing that the waveform itself is the same. So the significant components of this, such as looking for divergences, etc., all are there. Excellent. That's the 4 hour time frame. Let's look at it on the 1 hour time frame then and see if we're seeing anything of note. Of course, over here we got a green dot giving us a buy signal. Excellent. Then we saw a pullback. Now we're getting this next pullback, and in this area right there at that peak, it seems, and around about this peak, yeah, just on the way up here, we got another sort of green dot buy signal for us coming in on the MarketCipher. And of course, you know, this, you can see then in terms of how that one's worked out, it's been a real failure of a move, this one so far, in terms of if you'd actually taken the trade off the back of that exact time that signal came in at, then you're sat in there in a loss currently. So it depends on how you're managing your risk. If you were managing it simply along the lines of I don't want to take out my previous low, then you're still looking all right. If you're looking up here and sort of wanting to get a decent enough move, let's look at sort of 1.5 to 1, sort of the minimum that you should really be looking at when you're trading. 1.5 to 1 there. Then I guess at the minute the MarketCipher could be bringing you in for a target of around about 57,000 or so, and that lines up with what we were talking about in terms of the TA, when you just kind of simply use this as an indicator, combining it with with a risk reward to get your target. So it matches up with what we're seeing in terms of trading this thing. It's being reasonable enough to look to. You probably actually could push this up as high as 2 to 1, and still matches in with the TA and everything else as well. So there you go. You can combine those things together, and that's that. In terms of what we're seeing that's different on this one, and is it going to give us any other ideas about things? Well, while the RSI stochastic line up here, which is the red and green line on the official one, and this blue line, they look radically different. The overall, what you're going to find when you look at this thing and change its inputs, its numbers, is that you you can go crazy on it, and it still doesn't massively change it too much. So RSI length, is this the RSI, the stochastic RSI one? Where's the stochastic? Here we have RSI length of the stochastic. It's at 14 at the minute. Let's just change that to something like 1,400. Yes, that's right. Let's increase it by 100 times and see how much it changes the thing. Now it's kind of looking a little bit more similar to the other one, but of course, really what we're seeing is that it hasn't actually changed the overall impact of the indicator at all. So how important is it that that doesn't match up? Well, not necessarily that big a deal. Let's change this one up as well. Let's change this up to 140 instead. So times that one by 10 and see how it changes things. Not an awful lot. So you can see that the coding that's gone into the RSI, there it is. Now it's changed. Okay, so you can see that the numbers are obviously radically different, perhaps much higher than what you would normally typically use. Are we seeing this having had any impact in terms of the signals it's actually being output by it? No, we're not. Other ways that this doesn't match up quite so much is that the MFI line down the bottom doesn't quite give you the same sort of smoothed out signal. You're getting a couple of extra sort of false signals in there, if you will. So there's that. So but while this maybe doesn't get mentioned enough, here's a quick tip for anybody using it. If you are actually looking at this thing to take entries on, then take the green dots on when there's a green MFI signal as well, just to kind of double down on your signals. For instance, here where we got a green dot, there was this, it does actually just flash red just beforehand, but it was green when the dot came in, and of course that was a good signal. Looking back the way we had a green when there was red down below, not quite as good a signal in comparison between the two of them. In fact, subsequently coming in for lower lows and quite possibly wrecking people who took that one. So there's a comparison. There it is in the 1 hour time frame. There's also a move potential for us as well. Nice little bit of discussion about them. Biggest differences in terms of just looking at it with the naked eye, you would say exist between a couple of little things like the depth that they're given to their RSI cloud in the background. It seems to be slightly lower on the VuManChu one, so we'd have to boost that up by from something like 14 to maybe 28 or so to get something looking similar on that one. Let me just see if we can do that. Will it increase it? Like little things like that maybe will bring this into alignment. However, the overall signals are coming in from things like divergences, etc., and those are mostly staying the same with the overall setup between the two, with the wave being the same and the signals themselves being the same. Are we even getting worse ones with the top side? No. A little thing to know for people is that this is obviously very much dependent on the overall market trend basis. Now, you might have got that idea when I boosted the stochastic up from 14 to 1,400, for example, how this is obviously looking back at a much longer period of data in order to come up with some components in the background of this, which does mean that if you're looking for negative signals during what has been a 6-month-long upward trend, for example, it's going to be less reliable. There you go, a little bit of insight for people as well who haven't maybe used this thing before, and even the ones that have used it probably don't realize these sorts of components that get boiled in. So I would look at those things I've talked about. That's great. Okay, cool. If that was helpful to you, hit the like button and all that good stuff. Hope you enjoyed it. Great. Nice one. Excellent. So we have a question from Peter here about that as well, just before I sign off on that one, saying what time frames provide the most accurate signals? Well, let's actually just give you, since we're talking about accurate signals here, let's use it the way that they would tell you to use it. So you change your chart over to Heikin Ashi instead of the regular candles, and then it has been specifically to be designed. I think they talk about saying that it's been specifically designed to look at it on the 1 hour time frame, or indeed perhaps the 4 hour time frame. Now, that's just the sort of thing that they write on the outside of the packaging, in the sense that if you were like, when you go into the DIY shop and you look at the paint coverage on the back of a paint tin, and it tells you what it is, and you read it and you're like, okay, but I'm still going to have to make my own mind up really at the end of the day. And it's the same as that with this one. You'll find, if you look at the videos that Cryptoface puts out, for example, that he's putting videos on YouTube where he's getting signals on the 4 hour or higher. It depends. If he's got a signal on the daily time frame and a signal on the 4 hour time frame, then his video is going to be showing you maybe a live stream for about 4 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours with a position that's in profit, having taken that signal, and you can see how that bleeds together really well for YouTube. So that's what he uses. Is it for YouTube or for his own trading? It's hard to say. But there you have that idea of things. I would say is because the 4 hour is a pretty good time frame to be trading on for most people most of the time, in most instances anyway. Okay, so what would you say? Perhaps the 1 hour, I think, is what they think they advertise it as. Perhaps the 4 hour, because in terms of how the creator of it uses it himself, I think. But then the daily signals are where you're going to get your good ones. Now, when you talk about it, it boils down partly to usage, because when we got towards the 24-hour time frame, then Cryptoface himself would tell you this. Look, the last time we got a green dot on this was the 10th of September 2020, which was a real super powerful one that you're looking for, where you've got the green MFI, etc., and all that stuff happening, and that's where this led to this trend. So you're waiting sort of 6 months at a time for one of these signals, okay, and one of those sorts of ones. So you're not likely to make a lot of good YouTube content off the back of that, for example. Then you've got these sort of lesser signals up above that are happening. Now, of course, they're pretty good, and that's pretty good. But again, as well, how does a signal that came in, for example, 4 days ago, 3 days ago, how does a signal that came in three days ago or so help us now? In that sense. So it depends, right? It depends. Excellent. So that's I think that's enough of a video for MarketCipher for this month, right? Okay. Cool. So might do much comprehensive take on it. Wait, let me see. Crypto got a discount for his viewers and probably was paid by Cryptoface to do a much less comprehensive take on it. Oh, that's cool. Nice one. Sweet. Excellent. So I've provided some content for the community. If on that basis, sharing that content and whatever is something that you think your friends might find useful, then that'd be cool if people wanted to do that. Yes, I did have his brother come and talk to me like that. However, I would say that having a brother myself, I appreciate the force of his nature whenever he came in to defend his brother, and I respect people who have that feeling of loyalty to their family. So what can you say? I respect the guy for it, and actually we had a really kind of nice and productive conversation afterwards, and I would say that we're probably closer towards being friends now in some ways as a result of his sort of tour de force in the comment section of that previous video. So yes and no. Exactly. It's that's that. But in terms of our contact and everything else, it's not. I'm not really much of a person who believes in first impressions, to be perfectly frank with you. Right. So that's all good. So somebody's asking, can we take a look at mana?